Hello, this is Lauren Dalsack, and welcome back. In the last talk, we looked at the synastry between the Draconic chart and the Natal chart for Yogananda. One thing that I highlighted within that talk was the Draconic Neptune-Pluto conjunction that falls into the 9th house conjunct the natal North Node. In this talk, that's what I'm going to focus on. We're going to look at patterns, draconic patterns and configurations that line up with the lunar nodal axis in the natal horoscope. The degree or extent to which one is likely to perhaps fall back or surge forward can be gauged by the draconic patterns to the North Node or the South Node. Whatever patterns key into the natal North Node will be extremely important. Let's take a look at the horoscope of Bill Maher. Bill Maher, known for his political satire, is a stand-up comedian and political commentator. He's best known for his talk show Politically Incorrect and Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. Note how the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction in his horoscope in the Draconic falls in the sign of Sagittarius. It is conjunct the natal North Node in Sagittarius, falling into the 3rd house of communications. And Draconic Venus in Gemini is opposed the North Node and conjunct the natal South Node. Bill Maher is also an outspoken critic of organized religion. He also is on the board of People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals and has expressed his distaste for pharmaceutical and healthcare industries in general. Now, when we look at what is conjunct the North Node and what is conjunct the South Node, we have to think about what can get Bill Maher into trouble. Well, completely opinionated and empowered opinionation, very resourceful in that area. When we look just at that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction in Sagittarius, conjunct the North Node, it would seem that that is where he should be applying his energy into opinionation, expressing his opinions, worldviews in the opposing 9th house. But we have to wonder about the political satire, looking at Venus in Gemini, falling in the 9th house, appropriate, and how that can maybe get Bill Maher into trouble. ABC decided not to renew Maher's contract for Politically Incorrect in the year 2002 after he made a very controversial on-air remark on September 17th, 2001, just after the 9/11 terrorist attack. He said, quote, "We have been the cowards lobbing cruise missiles from 2,000 miles away. That's cowardly. Staying in the airplane when it hits the building, say what you want about it, it's not cowardly." Well, that didn't help Bill Maher out too much. ABC dropped his show. So it's interesting to look at Bill Maher and the extreme opinionation and the opposite side in the 9th house of the comic in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, falling in the 3rd, 9th axes, what I think versus worldviews and opinions. And we cannot help but notice here the Draconic Saturn-Mars conjunction squares right into this whole configuration, and that can be symbolic of bad judgment. Notice in the horoscopes of renowned psychic Sylvia Browne how the prominent angular natal configuration of Neptune-Mars midheaven opposed Saturn has arced itself, so to speak, in the Draconic chart so that it sits right on top of the natal nodal axes configured with Jupiter and the Moon. Note as well how the Draconic Moon in Pisces has clicked into conjunct the natal Neptune-Mars midheaven opposed Saturn configuration. This is really a beautiful example of synastry between the Draconic and the natal. We must know that these two natal configurations are hotspots for this soul's incarnation. It would be an understatement to say that Jupiter Sagittarius and Neptune Pisces energies are not on fire for Sylvia Browne in this lifetime. The Draconic Moon in Pisces, the need to understand impressions and work with the intangible, as we've already mentioned, is opposed the midheaven, hence her work with the energy through her profession. But it's also conjunct natal Saturn in Pisces, giving a need fulfillment push to ambition for all things esoteric. This angular configuration in Pisces is critically important. Note that Draconic Saturn ties into the crowd huddled around the natal Sagittarius North Node. In the sign of Gemini, we get the ambitious communications coupled with the opinionation of Sagittarius. Draconic Jupiter in Pisces, the final dispositor of the natal horoscope, is square the natal North Node and natal Jupiter. Sylvia Browne has been involved in numerous controversies regarding her claims and predictions. She has a long-running feud with skeptic James Randi, who has said that her readings are indistinguishable from those achieved by mentalists using cold and hot reading techniques. A skeptic, Robert Lancaster, has published a series of articles critical of Browne. The articles have historically asked for replies from Browne herself or any facts known to be contrary from any readers of the articles. The rebuttals are published on his web page, but none have publicly come from Browne herself. There is a StopSylviaBrowne.com website, which has the largest and most popular compilation of articles critical of Browne on the web. Also, Browne has often spoken of working with the police and FBI as a psychic detective, but according to the Skeptics Dictionary, in 21 of Browne's 35 cases, the details she gave were too vague to be verified. So perhaps the Saturn in Gemini falling into the 7th house of the public conjunct the South Node might be a concern in terms of the vagueness of her predictions. Michael Jackson and Madonna, two musical superstars, were born just 13 days apart and in very close physical proximity to one another in the Midwestern United States. Jackson, born in Gary, Indiana. Madonna, born in Bay City, Michigan. Both have Jupiter in Libra, conjunct the North Node in the natal horoscope, suggesting the need to be appreciated socially and recognized publicly. Natal Jupiter pulls them to forge ahead enthusiastically and optimistically in the direction of their North Node and to take on the qualities and pursuits of Libra. In synastry, Draconic Mars in Libra is conjunct this natal configuration, which takes control of the reins, driving fulfillment passionately and assertively into anything social and even artsy. It adds uniqueness, being one step ahead and apart from the way others do things, with the Draconic Mars configured with natal Jupiter. For Jackson, we see the Draconic midheaven in Cancer square his natal lunar nodal axes. His identity's karmic or intuitive awareness of who he is in the world embraces the sensitivity-carrying nature, but self-protectiveness of Cancer in terms of how he needs to establish status and reputation within the quest or mission his soul is here to seek. The qualities of his Draconic Cancer midheaven encourage him to push toward a consciousness of other people's needs, the Libra North Node, instead of falling back into the ego and self-centeredness of the South Node in Aries. And without getting into too much details here, we could think about the 5th house being the natural ruler of children. That's where the node and the Jupiter conjunction in the natal fall, with all the hype and criticism and accusations with regard to him and children. Well, you can analyze it and take it from there. For Madonna, the Draconic Sun in Capricorn is square her natal lunar nodal axes, which brings the driving force of her soul's ideals and ultimate objective to deploy strategy, organization, and resources in moving toward her Libran North Node. The energies of her Draconic Capricorn Sun will also invigorate and enhance her dramatic and magnetic social presentation of natal Venus in Leo. Notice how the Draconic Sun opposes the natal Venus in Leo. So, in order to keep this talk under 10 minutes, take a look to see in your natal horoscope, in synastry with the Draconic horoscope, what Draconic planets line up with, conjunct, opposed, square, the lunar nodal axes in the natal horoscope, and come up with some creative insights on your own regarding that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next talk.